All right, let's try this again. I'm not going to go through everything that I've been through already. I just want you to tell your friends that we are back. If they were in the other feed, we're back. We're having some internet issues. If that's the worst of our problems tonight, I think we are doing just fine. Thanks to everybody who has now rejoined us. Go back to the other place and get your friends and bring them back here. Actually, the best way to let anybody know who got bumped off of the old feed is by hitting that share button. And we can't share YouTube videos, but if you're watching on YouTube, let us know you're here. Say hi. If you're watching on Facebook, absolutely hit that share button, and we will be back to our normal selves in no time. All right. Yes, Jonathan says get to the cutting. Oh yeah. By the way, I found this in my yard today, and I have no idea where it came from. I mean, I know what it is and why it's here, but I have no idea where it could have come from. I think it's those blasted Mendelssohn quadruplets with their bats and their balls and little Braden and Jaden and Dylan and Hezekiah Mendelssohn. I think so. I'm going to give it back, but I'm going to enjoy pretending I'm not giving it back for a while. So that happened today. Okay, here's where we're at. I saw our friend, yeah, good Lord. Alan says it's 13 below. That's not actually a thing. So if you joined us on the previous technologically insufficient broadcast, we were discussing how these 335 3018 BF Goodrich Rival S's on 12-inch wheels in the back have a serious case of the poke-em-outs, and we don't want to deal with that. It's going to throw a lot of rocks up there. It looks dorky. We are going to fix that tonight, and we're going to do that in a couple different ways. We may or may not actually cut these fenders, but we certainly are going to bolt some cheap, cheesy flares on there. And here, but we're going to talk about cutting fenders. First off, if this were a metal car, we could just go grab our big fender roller that you get them from Eastwood, you get them from Tire Rack. You bolt it onto the wheel hub. You roll those fenders out. You make a little bit of clearance. You heat things up with a heat gun. Works great. Does not work quite as well on a fiberglass fender. It just the fiberglass is a fairly unforgiving material. So the other problem with fiberglass fenders is fiberglass has this tendency to, if you hit it the wrong way, it might not neatly wear back and grind off. It might just explode. And that's kind of bad. Now, I saw our friend Alex Zortzis on here earlier, and hopefully he comes back, because he is a guy with an SSP class Corvette, runs 345 Hoosiers in the back, doesn't really have any interference issues, and those things poke out like a couple of inches. And I'm just looking to get some feedback from him. Let's discuss whether we need to cut before we do any actual cutting. Then we're going to talk about these flares. We're going to talk about riv nuts a little bit and go into some hardware discussion. So let me bring up a picture here. Chris, stay on that. I'll just bring a picture up. So here is the car at Time Trial Nationals, and you can see this is a hard left-hand corner, or sorry, hard right-hand corner. And let me zoom in a little bit here. And I'm actually up on the curb there too. You see those inside wheels are off the ground. So that's both, and this is on sticky tires. This is on the R1Ss. So I don't really think that you're ever going to have more load than that on the car. You've got the inside wheels off the ground, just hit a curb. You're at max cornering G to one side. I think that's about the minimum amount of clearance you're ever going to have on an R-Comp race tire. And I still see a little bit of room there in the back. Now, these are 315s. Let me bring up another photo here that is another fairly hard cornering angle. We'll zoom into that a little bit too. Another hard right-hand corner. I still see a little bit of gap there. Now the 335s are less than 3/8 of an inch taller, so that's less than 3/16 more radius. I don't know that there is an unquestionable need to actually cut those fenders back there. So yeah, Greg, that is a badass pick. I think we might be able to get away with a tiny bit more ride height, and I think we may also be able to get away with not cutting yet. Maybe seeing that there will be a little bit of wear on the fenders. I can live with that. But let's talk about if we were going to cut these fenders. How are we going to do it? What's the best way to measure out an arc for the fenders? Couple of real simple ways to do it. The way that I've done it in the past is you get a stick and a pen, and it's really just that simple. And you can, Chris, yeah, maybe why don't you get over here, Chris, and that way you're not in front of the lights. And you can just basically use this as a makeshift compass to scribe an arc on this fender line at whatever radius you want. So if you want the radius to be indexed off of the center of the wheel, just take a jack stand, kind of set it to about the center of the wheel. Tape a pen on here and just kind of go back and forth. You're probably going to use both hands. So let's see what that line would look like. We obviously don't need a ton of space there. So let's just pretend that we're going to cut these at some point, and we're just going to take about, we're just going to take the roll off of the bottom there. You want to put the pen right about there. That's lost forever. That'll join the Mendelssohn quadruplets baseball, won't it? Okay. This is why I went to all those acting classes. One day I'd be taping a pen onto a stick. Okay, but I'm selling it. Damn it, I am selling. You believe that I am in the moment right here. So if we were to just take that and kind of, scribe that line. Let's move it forward a little bit and see what that gives us. Too much radius there, I think. So let's move this up a little. We'll just Photoshop all this out later. Move the pen down a little. So we've got a little bit smaller radius here. That's pretty good. So that, if I were going to cut it, that is probably the line that I would go for, because as this tire moves straight up, this is going to be where most of the interference is going to take place, because obviously this is not a steering tire, so you don't have to worry about it turning to one side or the other. You just have to worry about vertical travel. Also, with a car like this, with a double A-arm car, you're going to gain some camber as that wheel moves up. So actually, the entire wheel and hub assembly is going to travel not straight up, but it's going to travel through a bit of an arc. So as this edge of the tire moves up, it's also going to move inward a little bit. Doesn't really help us in this situation. I mean, it would have to move on a hell of an arc to still clear this. But if it's close, especially with an A-arm car, don't panic, because there is going to be some camber gain to be had. It's gonna suck that in. So yeah, that's just a simple way to figure out what arc you want to use. Keep it on a consistent arc, and you can use a piece of string. You can do whatever you want. Now, for doing the actual cutting, that's going to depend on the material you're cutting through. If you're cutting through fiberglass or any plastic material, reciprocating saw works pretty good, and you don't want to use, actually the blade that's on here is probably a little too coarse, but you don't want to use too fine of a blade. Like, you don't want to use a blade that you would use for cutting metal, like a 28 tooth per inch blade, because what's going to happen is the fiberglass is going to turn into powder. That resin is just going to pulverize itself, turn into powder. It's going to gum that blade up really fast. It also can melt in there, and you're going to be constantly cleaning the blade out. Likewise, this is like an 8 tooth per inch wood blade. This is a little coarse for fiberglass. Somewhere in the 12 to 18 tooth per inch range is kind of the ideal range for cutting fiberglass, and also for cutting Lexan, cutting polycarbonate, stuff like that. So, hey David, are you watching YouTube? Because I'm not seeing any comments on YouTube, or do the people on YouTube just not care?
They don't care.
Okay, good. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube now, throw a comment up there, because I'm not seeing any comments on my. Actually, let me just refresh this page here.
I just commented.
Yeah, I'm definitely not seeing YouTube comments.
Oh, they're here.
Are they?
Thomas is there, yeah.
Well, I'm not seeing them on this though.
Oh,
there we go. Okay. Everybody's saying they're here. Hi, everybody. Okay, I see you now. Yes, Charles says he cares. Thank you for caring, Charles. We appreciate it. Oh, God, Crc Corbetto's here. Who let him in? What kind of place is this? Saw Crc Corbetto this past weekend at the Rolex. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so now I've got our YouTube comments back. Let's get caught up. Ron says he bought a 2002 Corvette Z06 last spring. Ron, do those valve springs. Thank you very much. Michael says he's mesmerized by our info. Michael actually shot one of those photos we just saw a few minutes ago as well. So we're not. I don't think we're going to cut these yet. I think I want to work up to doing the actual cutting, but I think what we are going to do tonight is we are going to bolt on some of these super cheesy eBay flares that I got. Yeah, don't at me. These are going to look awesome. Trust me on this one. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to attach those, and I want to introduce you guys to the concept of one of my favorite things, which is the riv nut or nutsert. And hopefully a lot of you are familiar with those little magical devices already, but if you're not, we are going to use a couple of those to attach these fender flares on here. So you're saying to yourself, well, why are you bolting flares on if you think they're going to clear anyway? Why you drilling holes in a perfectly good fender? If you knew how much I spent on my drill, you would not really ask that question. But at the same time, a couple of holes in a fender is going to be better than an entire fender sandblasted with rock chips. And you also may be asking yourself, hey, why don't you just go buy a set of flared fenders, which they actually sell for this? Because flared fenders are like $800. And then you gotta get them shipped. You gotta get them painted, which is gonna probably double the cost to get them painted fairly well. And you're gonna have to get them fitted on here, or fit them yourself, which they're, you know, as well as they're made, no fiberglass part is ever perfect, so it's gonna take some fitting. And the third, or possibly even fourth and final reason is every car I ever drew in study hall between like 10th and the middle of 11th grade had those flares on it. So that's what's happening tonight. We're gonna throw some of these on here, and I think we'll all come to the consensus that they look awesome. And in the meantime, we will introduce everybody to the glory that is the riv nut or nutsert. So Rob says they're $560. That's still a lot of money for something that is a track car. And let's see, Bill says we should panel bond the flare, no holes. Here's my rationale for the holes. If we do run the 10.5s again at an event, we can take the flares off easily, and it doesn't look too weird, and you know we know those fit on there. So I mean, look, we've already cut holes in the thing to put the wing on the back and our spoiler on the back, and put the canards in the front. It's a track car. It's metal and fiberglass and plastic and glass. It's all things are fleeting. So let's drill some holes in this baby. What do you say? Let's do it. Let me. Yes, David's all excited. Let me get my Sharpie here, and we'll line this thing up. In the meantime, I will see if we have any questions coming in. So Warren says if you open 2 tabs and have Facebook and YouTube running simultaneously, you get a neat reverb effect. That's pretty cool. So we should. That is true. So they might be slightly delayed from each other. TJ says we need to clean the fiberglass hairs before we screw them in. We don't want hairy nuts. No, good one. Thanks for making me say that out loud. And somebody posted a link to some ZR Edition rear fenders. Too late. I bought these on eBay for $22 American, and as God is my witness, they will look amazing when we're done. All right, so let's start by, how do I want to do this? Let's start by kind of positioning this here, getting our first hole in place. We'll go over how the nutserts work, and then we'll start bolting this baby in place. So I've played around a little bit with kind of positioning these. I think I know where they want to go. We're gonna position them so if we do end up cutting the fenders later, they're still in a good position for that. So we're gonna freeform this a little bit. I did a little bit of measuring before, and I kind of know where these are gonna end up. And we're gonna start with these upper holes here. So make sure when you're positioning this stuff, you're holding those flush against the bodywork. I think that is about the angle we're looking for. So as we attach these, we're going to attach them counterclockwise and clockwise, starting from the top. So they'll pull down against the bodywork. And I actually like the way that this line ends up meeting this line here with the brake intake. It's like they were designed specifically for this car. Okay, David, I'm not looking at the comments. Everybody happy with that placement? Oh my God. They are so excited. All right, so let's mark it and let's get going here. And yeah, we'll go back and redo these decals. So we're in kind of a measure twice, cut once situation here, except we're freestyling it a little bit. So I'm just going to start with this attachment right here. And you might be saying, well, why aren't you measuring stuff? Why aren't you taking real precise measurement? Because it's got to look right too. You can do all the lining up in the world you want to, but it still has to look proper. And I think That's where we want to be. I might go a little bit above that. All right, so let's discuss for a moment we have some suggestions here. Drill the holes in the flare first and use that to mark the fender. We did actually drill the holes in the flare. Chaz says tape it on. Chaz, all I have been doing this afternoon is taping those flares on and standing back and going, oh yeah, and then taking them back off. So I've been practicing a little bit, but yes, you can use lots of full release tape and get a good fit. Ron says, a race car is a race car after all. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Charles says hasn't been podcasting correctly. We had some technical issues earlier, but we appear to be in better shape now. We actually got a pretty good crowd in here. Let's talk now a little bit about the glory that is the rivet nut or riv nut or nutsert. And if you've not used one of these, we talked about these a little bit on our pre-Christmas show. Let me drill a hole here and I'll show you how these babies work, because they're very cool. And if this is not something that's in your toolbox already, especially if you do a lot of panel work or use thin metals, they are really handy. Switch these out for these. Not entirely for safety, mostly because I can't see anything within 2 feet of my face with my glasses on. So while yes, these are for safety, they're also so I can work up close. I found that this is stupid, but I found more and more, I hate wearing progressives. So I wear my glasses around, but I can't read stuff up close with my glasses. So I'll be like at the drill press, doing fine work, and then doing this, which is not great. So I've found that just keeping safety glasses all over the shops is a way better way to go. So first thing I'm going to recommend to you is if you get one of these threaded insert installers, don't get the one-hand squeezy kind. These the butterfly types are not that much more, and once you realize how awesome these are, it's something you're going to use all the time. So go for the good ones, the hand squeezy kind. They totally suck. They're not even worth it. These are way easier to use, and way better to get the proper fit. So basically, what these are just little steel or stainless, or I think there's aluminum ones as well. Inserts that thread onto this insertion tool, and you drill the proper size hole. Put that baby through there, and then you give her, hey David, come here for a second. You're fine. You don't need safety glasses, just look away. So, yeah, so hold that for me. So as we squeeze this, that's going to mushroom out. And there's a little bit of feel to that depending on what material you're using. So now you have a blind threaded connection, which is incredibly handy if you're well, not installing a fire bottle, as we found out last week, but if you're installing anything onto a blind surface. And if you actually look at the data on these things, depending on the thickness of material and depending on the precision of the fit, the shear strength on these is fantastic. It is nearly as good as a through bolted connection in shear strength. And in pull-out strength, it's really, if it's properly installed, it's really only slightly weaker in most materials, in soft materials like aluminum anyway, not in steel, but in softer materials, it's not that much weaker in pull-out than a through-bolt connection. So, fantastic addition to your toolbox. Oh, so now we're going through a list of nut references that I've made, and yeah. So beware of pulling out. I guess is all I have to say. All right, let's drill a hole in our Corvette here. It's time. The time has come. We'll take one last sort of hand fit here. We're going to start with one, and then we're going to sort of install them fastener by fastener. All right, here we go. Moment of truth, everybody. David, a little drilling a hole in a Corvette music, please. Oh. Oh, can you feel? Oh, there it goes. There. We're making chips. Look at that. So I'm going a little bit slow. Fiberglass can splinter, and it produces some nasty dust. You don't have to go really hard and fast through there. You can. Just kind of feel how it's cutting. And also, the thing I like about Unibits is you can make a little bit of a chamfer in your final assembly to sink that shoulder into a little bit. Yep. So now we will clean off our fiberglass dust. And now that my new DeWalt 20-volt max shop vac has been on the show, it's a business expense. little bit of tax tips here from your friends. See, now I'm changing glasses back and forth. So Adrian wants to know, are there different length riv nuts? What's the thickest panel you can use them on? Yeah, there are. I am, believe it or not, at 48, almost 49 years of age, I am new to the magical world of riv nuts, and I've just used them on fairly thin panels. These are basically for anything up to about I think about 3/16 of an inch. But yeah, there are longer ones that are better for thicker panels. We're using some M5 5mm inserts. The only reason we're doing that is because I had a whole mess of M5 screws, because M5 screws are the size you use for rack mount gear, and I had some rack mount gear I was playing with a few days ago. These are Phillips head screws. These are not going to be the final assembly of this. We're going to actually be decent humans and use some nice stainless steel button heads, but we're going to be taking this on and putting it off a few times while we do the install. So Phillips is going to be the easy button for this install. The final installation will include some very nice stainless button heads. So we'll get our threaded insert installed here, and when you're there's a little bit of technique involved here, especially when you're putting these in softer materials. You kind of feel, you kind of listen. You can definitely over pull and go right through a softer material. So you kind of feel for the material deformation. And there you go. There is a hole in a Corvette. We will use that to install our first fastener, and then we'll index the rest of them off of there. There we go. I mean, that's already. I mean, that's not Crockett, but that's Tubbs. I mean, we're getting closer. We're making some progress. Hey, while I got you, folks, are you like me? Do you constantly have a need to clean maybe fiberglass dust off your glasses? Well, I suggest a little bit of CRC Display Cleaner. This is the stuff that I use. By the way, so Andy Hollis visited the show last week, and he was he really enjoyed the way that I'm able to instantly turn into a friendly TV pitchman at the drop of a hat. And I will tell you that one of my lifelong dreams is to be the guy from the Flex Shot commercial. I have a real admiration for a guy that you can put a product in his hand and he can tell you how amazing it is, never having used it or even knowing how it works or what it does. I just think those guys are great. Me, however, I gotta use stuff. I gotta be familiar with what I'm selling. I gotta like what I'm selling. And boy, howdy, ladies and gentlemen, do I like CRC Display Cleaner. I like their entire lineup, as a matter of fact, from brake clean to power lube to freeze off, and everything in between. Folks, if you're looking for automotive chemicals, grab some of this CRC stuff. You're getting a great product. You're giving a little bit back to our world. We appreciate that. If you're not busy, head on over to their social media once in a while. Let them know that you appreciate them supporting us. They are supporters of our show, our magazine, our events like the $2,000 Challenge. Great people to work with and make a great product as well. So we really appreciate them being here. Also, our friends from Autobooks, Aerobooks out in Burbank, California. Actually, we've got a little video from our buddy Jerry. Hang on for 1 second here. I don't know if it's Jerry or maybe it's a world famous author Matt Stone might be on here. Let us see what our friends from Autobooks have to say to us this week, folks. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Matt Stone, and this is my new baby, my new book called Hot Rod Empire. If you love Margie and the epic Robert E. Peterson, all the magazines they created, the whole birth of hot rodding in California, their museums and car collection, it's all in here. I'm very proud to have known these epic people. You can buy my new book, Hot Rod Empire, from autobooks-aerobooks.com in Burbank, California. Order right now and they'll have it to you as quick as they can. Thanks for watching.
Okay, we're back, and I see that we're already freaking out people on YouTube that we're drilling holes in our beautiful commemorative edition C5 Z06. This car's already been in a tire wall previously in its life. There's nothing we can do to it that it hasn't seen before. A couple of holes aren't going to hurt it. Crc Display wants to know what is a good source for the riv nuts and the tool. I actually got everything you see here riv nut wise off of Amazon. And if you go back to our Christmas show, the show we did December 26th, and I threw some links up there for the tool anyway. And the assortment, this was, I want to say this assortment of, 100 or so metric inserts was like $13 on Amazon Prime. You can also get this stuff at a place like Bolt Depot, or if you have a good local specialty hardware store, probably pick it up there. Any aircraft supply place, but aircraft supply places you're going to pay real money for. Go to Amazon until we get a sponsor for riv nuts, and then go there. Okay, let's drill some more holes. Yes, we have a flaccid flare. We need to add additional support to our flare here. So let's do that. Let's mark hole the second. And we'll just kind of eyeball this up, match the radius or the circumference of our tire with where that's going to look how nicely that drops into place there, and matches up with the curve of that brake duct. These $18 eBay flares really are a high quality item. Okay. All right, once it's Sharpied, it's there forever. It's like a tattoo. What's that? It's like that Creed tattoo you got on spring break that one time. And I know you love Creed, but maybe Scott Stapp does something weird one day and you don't really want to support him anymore. Here we go, folks. Oh. Yes, it seems like overkill vacuuming the dust on the car you just drilled a massive gaping hole in the side of. But fiberglass dust is very, very scratchy, and ultimately we don't want to do any more damage to this thing than we have to. We're not barbarians after all. It's not a fox body Mustang, for God's sakes. Did somebody throw up a link to the flare? Yeah, Scott threw up a link to some fancy $45 flares. I literally just went to eBay and typed in universal Fender flare, and I think I got these for $22, $23 for the set of 4. So that's what that looks like, and as we fold these down on the wheel, that's what they're going to look like eventually. How are we doing on time, David? It's after 10. Okay, so here's the part where I tell you. Here's the part where we do a little bit of Hollywood magic, and I come clean and tell you that there was never any doubt as to whether we'd be drilling these fenders out tonight. Because Chris, come along with me. Watch out. There's a lot of trip hazards in here. Here is where we are headed. Yes, I took a couple of Ambien last night and stayed up till 3 o'clock and did this one. And I'm sorry, but I think that looks super gnarly, and that nicely covers the tire. A little bit of an old school 80s look to it, and $22. So that's the look we are headed for on that side, and I hope you agree that it looks really cool. We'll finish this up later tonight. Meantime, let us take. Yeah, so we got all kinds of folks with flared Corvettes. We just put. Yeah, our Mustang friends are taking umbrage with my my Mustang comment. So Scott says, what about the front? Great question, sir. Here, the answer is, I don't know yet. The kit came with two different sizes of flare. Came with the small flares, came with the big flares. And I actually bought two kits because I knew I'd screw them up eventually. Throw a couple comments our way, but I think with these 315s in the front, I think the big flare is just simply too big. By the time you get it properly located on here, I think there is just too much. That I know we're well past the point where we're saying we're trying to be tasteful and appropriate, but I think these are just too big. You do have to make certain sacrifices to looks at some point. The little ones, unfortunately, are a little too small in the circumference of the actual wheel opening. They would fit better, but the way they would have to sit down on the fenders, you would have to bring them way down onto the edge of the fender, and then you would have to kind of curve them around. So I think the answer is, Scott, I need to take a closer look at your car. So sometime when we both have our cars at an event, sometime I'm not gonna put anything on the front until I take a little bit closer look at your car, because Scott was where I got the actual idea from. So I want to take a little bit closer look at your car, kind of see how you molded everything in and see how they fit, and then I'll make a final decision on what we're going to do on the front. Not quite as much poke out in the front as there is in the rear. The rear was just absurd. So I think the front we can get away with for a little while longer. Let us go through and get caught up with questions here. Warren wants to know, how much do they stick out? We can actually measure them. I think the big ones were quoted at like 85 millimeters, but we'll take a look at how wide they actually are if you're mounting that on a flat surface. Yeah, they are right about 85 millimeters from this horizontal plane to this horizontal plane. So that's the bigger ones, and then this set came with big ones and little ones, and the little ones are, I'm going to call that 55 to 60 millimeters in the horizontal. So like from that plane to that plane, about 55 millimeters. And the circumference, do I have a measuring tape up here? So inside to inside on the little ones, about 28.5 inches, 72 centimeters. Inside to inside on the big ones. Yeah, about 30 inches, 77 centimeters. So, yeah, go, and you know what? If all of a sudden some place in New Jersey sells 200 sets of $22 flares tonight, tell them we sent you, and maybe some more fall off a truck heading our way. That's gonna be just about the showdown. Let me still get caught up with questions. Yes, YouTube questions. Oh, somebody asked about heat guns. No, we didn't have to use a heat gun because these are extremely flexible. I'm thinking, again, I'm going to talk to somebody who's actually put these on the front, but maybe in the front, if we end up doing some sculpting around, it's a very compound curve on this front fender. There's really no flat vertical plane to mount these to, so you have to kind of mount them on this sort of transitional curve, and then and then curve this part around. So that might be someplace you want to heat these up a little bit and get them to sit down a little bit. But as you can see on the other one, they took a little bit of a curve, and you know, these are not, these are cheap plastic flares. They bend. So we got the heat gun thing answered. So Ron says if he put flares on his car, it would have to match the front and rear carbon fiber pieces, race car or not. Yeah, I get it, man. I get, you know, these are cars that get used hard. They get tire scuffs on them. They get cone marks on them. But you still want them to look, I mean, part of this sport is the cars look cool, and there's no lack of honor in thinking that, you know, I'm going to make my car look cool. I think there is a psychological precedent for getting into a cool looking car and wanting to make it go fast. And in a sport timed to the thousandth of a second, if you can get a little bit of a psychological advantage by saying, I just kind of knew a badass Corvette with $22 Fender flares on it, then yeah, that works. Mech wants to know, is there something wrong with the sound? Oh, he fixed it. Okay, so apparently there is nothing wrong with the sound. And we are caught up. There was, I need to go back and get caught up with all the nut jokes, and then somebody wants to see the front flares. Yeah, so our friend Scott McMurray has a set of these flares on the front. Another show, another time. We got cool stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks and couple of months here on the big show. Got some fiberglass dust going on there. Just found out today that we're going to be visited by a Acura NSX, that we're going to be doing a deep dive, one of our deep dive looks at, and maybe if we can set it up, might even get to talk to Catherine Legg and talk to her about what it's like to race the NSX GT3. So normally we are not on the schedule for high-end press cars like that. This thing kind of happened, and whenever we get a chance to look at a cool car, throw it up on the lift, take a little bit closer look at it than you might get from other car magazines. That is something that we absolutely like to do. So that's going to be coming up in, looks like in March sometime. We're going to be, we got the folks from Cometic Gaskets coming in the next few weeks and talk to us all about how to make your own gaskets, how to choose the right gasket, how to deal with sealers and the right way to put them on. Everything you ever wanted to know about gaskets. I'm not even smart enough to ask the right questions yet. I got to do research for that show. Our friend Jimmy Day from FM3, the Optima Search for the Ultimate Streetcar, Drive Auto X, those series. He's going to be here in the next, in the coming weeks. Talk to us all about what's coming up for the Optima series. Maybe have a couple of cool cars here to show you from that series or from the Drive Auto X series. What else is going on? Oh, our friends from Chicken Hawk Racing are going to be telling us all about tire warmers, not just tire warmers, but heat management in your tires, how to properly manage the heat in your tires, whether you can use active warmers or whether you can just use passive warmers in the series you are running in. We'll be doing some tests to show you how well some of that stuff works, and I'm very intrigued by that show coming up. All kinds of great stuff coming up on the show. Where do you fit in, you ask? Well, hopefully if you shared our broadcast tonight, you have done your duty. If you were watching over here on YouTube, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we definitely appreciate that. Really, the best thing you can possibly do, though, is tell your friends, tell everybody you enjoy watching this show, help spread the word. We really appreciate it. We love hanging out in the shop here with you guys tonight. So let's see. Yeah, Mike King wants to bring the NSX to the Dixie Tour. I think we're only getting it for like 3 days. Like we're on the non-mainstream automotive publication schedule for that, as many of the exotics in every press fleet are, even for the big magazines. They don't drop those. You know, Hyundai Elantra comes around, we get that thing for a week. The NSX comes around, they take a little bit better care of it. We actually got a Ford GT, not the new one, but the, what was that, like 04? Yeah, the original Ford, well, the second Ford GT, back in like 03 or 04. What was, oh yeah, something like that. We got one of those, and it visited us for about 4 hours. And the dude brought it. He's like, here you go take your pictures, go drive it around. And he sat there in our conference room while we went out and did stuff with the Ford GT. And when we were done, we handed it back to him and he drove away with it. And my buddy, I got my half hour in it. I drove to my buddy's house, who, you know, my buddy Diamond, who I've been growing up doing car stuff with, and like banged on his door, and I saw his car in the driveway, like, and he called me later. He was like, oh, I was so sick. I was in the house. What you want? And I'm like, you know what? Don't even worry. I wanted to borrow a Diet Pepsi. That's all I wanted. Okay, so Steven says I need to say nuts one more time. There you go. You are welcome. And that is that's it. We are caught up. That's the show. Thanks for your kind words. Ron says we are the best. I tend to agree, but I work here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm glad to meet many of you at Daytona last week. Somebody asked if we're going to Sebring. Somebody might be there, but we don't really have an official presence there. And somebody wants to know, when do GRM Daytona tickets for 2020 go on sale? Usually renewals go out in the late spring, and then anything left, which is usually not many, are, I think, like by July or August. But keep an eye on the website at grassrootsmotorsports.com. We will let you know in advance when those are coming out, and usually we're out on message boards too, kind of spreading the word. So if you're a ticket holder already, the renewals take most of those up. But the front stretch packages are still available. They were a big deal this year because everybody got breakfast in a heated suite up in the front stretch area, and from what I hear, it was absolutely fantastic. The chance to go up there in one of those heated, climate-controlled luxury suites, hang out for a little bit, get out of the weather. So think about that. You don't get the inside the track parking because we're literally just physically, there's no more place to put cars, but you get really decent parking just outside the track, and you get access to that suite for breakfast. It's a pretty cool deal. Okay, I need to get out of here. Thank you very, very much for watching tonight. Thanks to our friends from CRC Industries. Check them out at crcindustries.com. Even better, check them out at a major retailer near you. We really, really appreciate them supporting the show, supporting our events, supporting our magazine. We appreciate it if you would do the same thing too. You get a great product from them. You also give a little bit back to us just by buying awesome brake cleaner or carb cleaner or spray lubes. You do a little bit to help this show, and we appreciate it. Also, our friends from Autobooks, Aerobooks, Autobooks-Aerobooks on the web. If you can't make it there in person, if you can, check them out in Burbank. You will not regret a second that you are in there. Your credit card company may call you afterwards because they'd be like, why are you spending $4,000 in Burbank? What are you, some kind of crazy massage parlor? No, I'm at the world's greatest bookstore, Autobooks, Aerobooks. Check them out in Burbank, California. Also, if you want some free Grassroots Motorsports stickers, who wants free stickers? David's going over there to post the link right now. We had good crowds here tonight, so I will give some stickers away. grassrootsmotorsports.com/free stickers. We're just going to ask for your address, for your email, and we're going to send you a couple of free stickers. Not going to do anything weird with any of that information. We'll send you a pair of free stickers for the side of your car, for your toolbox, for your cooler, wherever they need to go. 2 free stickers just for watching the show and being our friend. grassrootsmotorsports.com/free stickers. Thanks very much to Chris behind the camera tonight. Thanks to David over on social media there. Thanks to the DeWalt company, who I can now write off on my taxes in 2020 for providing these great tools that I bought with my own money and are now a business expense. Thanks to the discount wheel flare company of somewhere in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey for supplying these $22 flares. I'm JG Pasterjack. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is Grassroots Motorsports Live presented by CRC Industries. Good night. We'll see you next Wednesday.